All right, everybody. I'm going to philosophize right now. I usually think better with a pen in my hand. I don't know. I do though. Um, sometimes I get on here and I'm thinking thoughts that I've already thought before, and I've really fleshed them out, and I just it's almost cathartic. I just want to get these thoughts out. Um, but right now, that's not going to happen. Right? It's like I'm still trying to flesh this thing out. Um, so you're gonna have to put up with my bumbling around. Um, but man, you know what? I'm lonely. I am. I'm very very lonely. Um, and you know, basically, one of the reasons why is that they don't really teach critical thinking in schools, right? And you know, I guess I came across critical thinking in two different ways. I guess the first way was, I read about Solomon and he sought out wisdom, and I'm like, cool, I want wisdom, that sounds cool. So, want to be wise, so I just started thinking, right? But the other way was definitely through my mom's father, my grandpa. We could talk about anything, and there was no, visceral political hatred, right? It was just fun, it was fun to have a disagreement, and without any stress, you know. Um, but there's no critical thinking out there. It's like I go around and it's just like, man, I have all these thoughts in my head, and I throw them out there, but it's like I try to talk to people, and they're just basically repeating what they've heard or what they've read, and again, this is result, consequence of the school system, right? Um, Input, output, right? Input, output, like a robot's brain, right? But then I start thinking, like, what really is understanding? I mean, what really is fucking understanding, man? Like, I looked up the definition, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it was to perceive the intended meaning of a word, a language, or speaker, right? Um, Now, lately, I've been getting on, and I'll look up definitions, and the dictionaries they've been using are fairly decent, sometimes, though, oh my god, there are some dictionaries out there that are either criminally malicious or comical, or both. Um, but I don't know. This definition just seems to be lacking. It's almost a hidden antonym, right? Understanding is perceiving, perceiving is understanding, right? Um, but then there's the other aspect to it, which is meaning, right? The intended meaning of a speaker, right? The problem with this definition is like, listen to that, listen, right? To perceive the intended meaning of a speaker, right? That's listening, right? I mean, you could say that that's the definition of listening. And when we think of this word understand, I think we all assume that there's some sort of objective truth out there. Um, and that's what your mind. It's like almost understanding is your mind bonding with objective truth almost. Um, but in this definition, the intended meaning of the speaker, um, this is subjective. It doesn't matter whether the speaker is what that meaning is. You're just in perceiving their intended meaning. Um, I mean, this definition is totally lacking, I think. Um, Now, if we wanted to try to flesh out the definition for ourselves, let's take an example, right? Let's take engineering, right? Say you go out there, you get an engineering education, but at the end of this engineering education, all you can do is apply for jobs at all these corporations. Like, what has your engineering degree got you, right? A true engineering education should empower you, right? So an engineering education should not only fill your mind with information, but it should fill you with the ability to manipulate that information to do what you want with it. But they don't want that. They don't want an engineer to come out of schooling and be able to make his own cars, right? They're training workers, right? Input, output, input, output. If you get 100% output, A plus. Good boy, gold star. And you continue to seek out that patting on the head. um, like that on The Incredibles, at the end of The Incredibles, that line of the underminer always fucking flashes through my mind. It's like, you are above me, but I am above you. No, I'm laughing at all these A plus, people. Anyways, but I think we would say that a good education trains your will as well as your mind, right? But right. I mean, that's a one little example, and that little example covers one aspect of thought, right? The science and the mathematics and the engineering aspect, reason, right? But what about philosophy? What about what about emotions, or even fucking history? That's not as scientific as people think. um, in order for something to be a science, you need to have mathematics. So all of psychology doesn't have mathematics. Psychiatry, I think, does, and there are some psychological experiments which maybe do, or at least try to have mathematics. But what about psychology? What about because you get all this philosophical information into your brain, and it's like, how can you use that? I mean, I think there's a lot of thought out there, which is just hypnotizing. It hypnotizes you into living a poor quality life. An example would, I always use the Andrew Tate example because it's just so easy. Um, but if you listen to, if you like consume Andrew Tate's advice, then you're gonna be a child of Abraham or Adam, not Abraham, but Adam. You're gonna be toil and drudgery. He work, 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 work. Um, it's there's a lot of thought out there that tries to get a lot of psychological thought out there that tries to get us to accept the misery that we're living in, right? And it's very well done. It sounds very and another example I think would be Alan Watts. Alan Watts, oh, he just makes you feel so good. um But at the end of the day, it's like, what is he saying? Like, shit. Um, it's like, I mean, like, is there an objective way to live? You know, I don't think any rational person would say yes, because some people want to be artists and other people want to build homes. You know, how can there be an objective way to live when there's just so much variety of life out there? Now maybe there's an objective morality, right? You enter into morality, but shit, we're like, we're just talking about understanding, right? Yeah, man. I mean, what is fucking understanding? Like, I'm not saying I'm right in anything I say. Um, in fact, I'm wrong all the time, and if I'm wrong, I know what's right. But even then, that might not be right, and something else might be right. And it's just, I think it comes down to this critical thinking. It's just like there's no critical thinking out there. There's just so much toxicity of thought because we're living in dramatic times with a bunch of drama queens. um, Damn. you know, and me, I don't know, I quote unquote understand. There's no bitterness within me, or I don't feel superior to anybody. You're all victims. Um, I was able to learn to critically think. Um, I escaped the system that wants to shut down your brain. Um, but yeah, fuck, what is understanding, huh? Yeah, but here's something, like I don't understand, right? Here's something I don't understand, and that is, if there is a God, and if that God is good, then why would he be so cruel to me? Because loneliness is just so painful.